What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of College Football Showdown presented by Prime Sports World. I'm Israel World, your usual host here for College Football Showdown, here with my main man, Christian System for the Daily Blitz.blog, Monday evening quarterback, ladies and gentlemen. And before we start the show, please take a second to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on Twitch, Facebook, and our YouTube channel. And in case you missed the slide feed, we are available on all major streaming platforms where all podcasts can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Samsung Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, just to name a few. I dropped the link in the comment section for that. And if anyone else wants to join me and Christian here on College Football Showdown and enter into the Terror Dome, baby, be more than feel free to go ahead and click on that link, and I'll let you in on the show to talk about the Natty, the National Championship preview, because we are finally here, Mr. Christian Simpson. How you doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing good, man. It's good to always be on here, to talk about this with you. This is the second national title game that you and I are getting a preview, and honestly, there's nobody else I want to break this game down with more than you, brother.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. And if you guys missed it last week, I mean, the New Year Six was bananas, right, Christian?
Absolutely.
The New Year Six was bananas. We'll go ahead and review those New Year Six games on the quick side, and then we'll go ahead and preview our national championship preview here, which I know Christian got a little something up his sleeve. So you guys don't want to miss that coming up later on the show. And as we like to start the show, there are top headlines here, something new that we've been doing here in the second half of the season of College Football Showdown. We've been previewing top headlines here, and here we go with our number one main headline. Jim Harbaugh has been under NCAA investigation for basically for recruiting violations during the COVID-19 period, where teams couldn't really do anything. Pretty much, they couldn't, they couldn't recruit, they couldn't do anything. So basically, the athletic director, Ward Samuel, issued a statement saying, yesterday, we received draft allegations from the NCAA regarding our football program. We have cooperated and will continue to cooperate with this investigation. Out of respect to the NCAA's enforcement process, we will not offer any further comments. According to a source, the NCAA's draft of notice of allegation includes a level 1 violation for Harbaugh not complying with or misleading NCAA investigators. Level 1 violations are the most serious and could lead to harsher penalties. So how do you feel about this, Christian? They have said that Jim Harbaugh is here to stay amid those allegations. What do you have to say about that?
I just hope he's not turning into college football's version of John Calipari. This is the last thing Jim needs. Look, I've always said he's been one of the best coaches in the country, and these last 2 years have shown it. Got that monkey off his back, beating Ohio State. But look, it doesn't matter who you are. You can't make any type of violations at the end of the day. Plain and simple. Rules are rules, and you have to abide by them.
And these are the same allegations that Herm Edwards was, if you guys don't remember, before Herm Edwards got, famously fired after the game, in midfield, basically by the AD and the president of Arizona State. Arizona State was under these type of penalties or investigation for recruiting during the COVID-19 period, in which, I believe, from like 2020 to 2021. Like during that COVID period, they really couldn't do any visits. They couldn't bring any recruits in to kind of visit the campus or anything like that. So Harbaugh under those harsh, penalties, and then alongside with the NFL news, I don't know, man. There should be some, some truth to all of this here. And like you said, I do hope that he, isn't under that John Calipari.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of there.
Right.
I would love to see. I would love to see this pan out. So we'll continue to follow this closely. But this is pretty big for the University of Michigan. This could, implicate, especially if Harbaugh leaves for the NFL. I mean, this could put a stain on his name for that university, and could hurt them in terms of moving in the next 4 or 5 years. They're building something special down there in Ann Arbor, and going to the college football playoff twice in a row in its history. It's a pretty big thing for recruits, and if guys aren't going to be there, and they're going to crack down on some of the on them going to the CFP or any bowl bans, could be detrimental to the future of the program here, Christian.
Absolutely. I hope this gets dealt with very soon, and let Jim and them go to the drawing board now. I know Jim is going to command a lot of attention from the NFL, and rightfully so. But I see him still on those sidelines at Ann Arbor next year.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. I do agree with you on that. Um, moving forward to the next topic that we have. South Carolina, Shane Beamer getting a $4 million raise here from South Carolina. He had a lot of firsts this year here at South Carolina, Christian. I think he was the first coach to have an 8-win season or so. I think he has back-to-back 7-win seasons,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. And also, the first time I think in South Carolina's history, Shane Beamer was able to bring them to beat two top 10 teams back to back. If you guys don't remember, Tennessee, he beat number 6 Tennessee at South Carolina, where Rattler had a great game against them, and then the next week they knock out top 10 Clemson in a rivalry game the next season there, and then they lose in their bowl game real close. They were up 21-7, I believe, against Notre Dame in their bowl game, which they lost. But he had a great 3-game stretch to win down there. But second straight winning season at South Carolina. Had a bunch of firsts. I think if I'm not mistaken, he was the lowest paid coach in the SEC. Before this.
Yeah, and that wouldn't surprise me. But South Carolina, they kind of took a step forward this year. They You mentioned those wins, the one against Tennessee, and then going into Death Valley, which is a tough place for anybody to go and get a win, beating Clemson and pretty much further eliminating them from making
Mm-hmm.
the CFP. And then, yeah, I know they didn't win that game against Notre Dame, right? They did lose that one.
No, they lost that game. They lost that
Yeah,
game.
but
Yeah.
look, the future could be bright. And if you were to fire Shane Beamer, here's the question: who do you find that's better than him right now?
Nobody. Nobody.
Exactly. That's why they
Yeah.
did this.
And it's crazy because he won his last 7 out of 9 to end the season. Here's some good stats about Shane Beamer here. He is now the 11th coach out of 14 SEC coaches that now earn $6 million or more annually. So if you want to get paid, go make it to the SEC. First of all, second of all, they peaked at number 19 this year in the college football playoff rankings. That's the highest ranking in program history for the Gamecocks, and only the second time that they've won 8 regular season games in the past 9 years and beat 3 nationally ranked teams. So Shane Beamer has definitely been the right coach, but also here we go. Beamer has also been great for attendance. They sold out six of their Saturday home games and ranked 16th nationally in home attendance at 75,785 capacity. The home
Wow.
finale against Tennessee, it drew 79,041 fans at William Bryce Stadium, which has a 77,591 seating capacity. Christian. So he had a bunch of standing room only people hanging from the rafters down there in South Carolina. The Gator Bowl, let me tell you something, Christian. The Gator Bowl drew 67,383 fans, the largest Gator Bowl crowd in 11 years, and officials estimated that 40,000 of those fans were from South Carolina. That is, and the Gator Bowl crowd was the largest of the 36 bowl games played through December 31st, which includes the Orange Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. Christian, that is some crazy stuff. And then when you want to look at the recruiting class, Christian, they ranked 16th nationally in the early signing period. And the 2022 class in the late period was ranked 17th. So he's been bringing in top 25 recruiting classes as well. And then, also you got draft speculation with Spencer Rattler possibly leaving or staying, or you got, Antoine Juice Wells, their stud wide receiver, may be returning. So a lot of good optimism there in South
Yeah,
Carolina.
yeah, it definitely is. And National Signing Day is that one day where we really look forward to who teams are gonna add, who coaches are gonna go after, how are they gonna recruit, how they'll do this, how they're going to do that. It's definitely a time for college football.
Definitely, definitely. It is definitely a time for college football. And congrats to Shane Beamer on getting that big raise. And like I said, if you want to get paid here
Go to the
in college
SEC.
football, go to the SEC. You make it to the SEC, you're gonna get paid, son. Especially if you have some success. Our last top headline of the night of this section, we have Sam Hartman, one of me and Christian's favorite, one of our favorite college football quarterbacks here in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Hartman transferring to Notre Dame down there in South Bend, Indiana, for his final college season. As you all know, Sam Hartman was probably one of the top transfer portal players next to like guys like Travis Hunter and other names as well. But Sam Hartman, he finished second in ACC history with 12,967 career passing yards behind the one and only Philip Rivers from NC State. He joins a Notre Dame program that's projected to start next season, highly ranked. The Irish finished 9-4 of the season, won 6 of the last final 7 games. That included a bowl victory over South Carolina, which we just mentioned, in an upset of Clemson and a blowout of Syracuse down the stretch there. Yeah, how do you feel about this with Sam Hartman going to Notre Dame? I know he threw for over 3,700 yards and 38 touchdowns, playing on 12 games after he missed one game in Wake Forest season opener with the blood clot issues that he had. But how do you feel about this with Sam Hartman transferring to Notre Dame?
I'm really excited for this. And look, I've never been that pumped up for a Notre Dame team coming into the year. Look, we've talked about this on the microphone and off the microphone. Everything's been there for Notre Dame. The strong running game, great tight end play, strong offensive line play, great defense. The one piece that's really kept them from advancing and really moving up the mountain and getting to the mountaintop was quarterback. I mean, look, I know they won a couple games with Ian Book, but they were really inconsistent at quarterback this year. Everybody's calling for Marcus Freeman's head. And I'm just saying, look, let him get a quarterback and everything is going to be good. And now you have one of the best. He's a guy that's really going to put this offense over the top. And I think the thing that stands out to me about Sam Hartman the most, it's just his ability to scan the whole field. If you're open, he's getting you the football. I think you and I both said it kind of has a little bit of that Drew Brees in him with the ability to spread the football around. It just has that arm, follows the throws, great vision, mobile when he has to. Nah, this is a good time to be a Notre Dame football fan. I think this move right here for them and him joining Notre Dame, this could make them a potential playoff team.
This makes them definitely as a potential playoff team. This year so far, they have the 11th ranked recruiting class. Last year, they finished in the top 10 at number 6. Because we all know Marcus Freeman, the reason why he got this job, not only he's good to X's and O's. Brian Kelly trusted him with the success of the program. And Notre Dame trusted him, but he's also a great recruiter. He was a lead recruiter there at Notre Dame. Like I said, they're ranked 11th nationally so far this year. They have 24-star recruits so far at the University of Notre Dame. Last year, they were ranked in the top 6. So you start to see some of that talent kind of come to fruition. And then, like we always said, adding Sam Hartman to Notre Dame, I think they've always missed that big-time quarterback. And I think Sam Hartman is as big time as they come. I mean, he was the Heisman Trophy candidate for much of the last couple seasons. And he just kind of didn't get there because let's just face it. He played at Wake Forest, and he's elevated Wake Forest right to the top of the ACC to top 25. He was part of that. He's one of the reasons why they're in the top 25 the last 2 years, right, Christian?
Yeah, yeah,
So bringing
yeah. He
him,
definitely is. He definitely is. Is he? But you go to Notre Dame, man. This is where greats have come. I mean, look at
yes,
all the Hall of Famers that have gone to Notre Dame. Joe Montana, Tim Brown, Jerome Bettis, and the guy who just went in, Bryant Young. I mean, a lot of big names have gone to Notre Dame, and like this is a huge move for them. I mean, I can't wait to see Notre Dame football next year. And as always, they always have those marquee games.
yeah, no, I mean this is perfect because Drew Prime, transferred to Arizona State, so kind of left it in flux. And Tyler Buckner is only a sophomore, but he's very, he's under, he's his, inconsistent, as a Notre Dame quarterback. I know he did win that bowl game against South Carolina, but he's definitely is inexperienced. I'll take Sam Hartman all day, baby. At Notre Dame, I'm a big Notre Dame fan, so I got to go with my Fighting Irish here. I think they're going to end up being in the top 10 again. And I think with Sam Hartman, this is big time for them. Like I said, man, adds the stability at the quarterback position. You get one of the best quarterbacks in the nation to come to your program. I'll take Sam Hartman all day. I think he elevates Notre Dame. And yeah, watch out. They might be a playoff team next season, Christian.
I
Um,
agree. I agree.
Moving forward to the New Year's Six, and what a hell of a New Year's Six. I think this might have been, Christian, this might have been the best New Year's Six bowl games, college football playoff that we've ever experienced. I know there are a couple clunkers in there, like the Orange Bowl and the Rose Bowl was kind of, a couple clunkers. But other than that, the other four games were quite entertaining, to say the least. Other than, in Alabama as well. Alabama ran away. Well, that started out close a little bit. Deuce Vaughn with that 88-yard touchdown scamper, and then Alabama just took control. But what do you think about this year's New Year's Six in the college football playoff
I was thoroughly entertained.
or last year's? Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely entertaining. Yeah.
I was thoroughly entertained. The Orange Bowl that lived up to the hype. The Rose Bowl didn't go in the direction that I thought you and I thought it would go, but the Sugar Bowl, like you said, started off quickly, and then Alabama just asserted themselves and said, "Look, you know why we're here." We're here to handle business. But, I think the one that shocked me the most was the Cotton Bowl in Tulane. Really giving USC all they can handle, Izzy.
Man, I am surprised at that Tulane. We'll start with the Orange Bowl here. Just kind of reviewing the Orange Bowl. What were your thoughts on this game? Tennessee winning 31-14. We saw a little bit of the future with Clemson with Kay Klubnik, who's going to be their next great quarterback to come through Clemson. He threw a couple interceptions against Tennessee, but I think the future's bright here, right? Tennessee. You saw, Joe Milton, senior. I don't know if he's able to come back. I think he was a fifth-year senior, so I don't think he's able to come back. Obviously, with Hendon Hooker, done for the year. But yeah, definitely Tennessee came out firing on all cylinders in this game, Christian.
Yeah, they did. They didn't let their foot off the gas. And when you punch Clemson in the mouth, or any football team in the mouth, lack thereof, it's tough for them to recover. And Tennessee, they wanted to go out and get this one for Hendon Hooker because they wouldn't be in this position without Hendon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. And like I said, I think the future's bright for Clemson with Kay Klubnik and those guys. He was 30 of 54, 320 yards, two interceptions. But going up against a really tough Tennessee defense, Will Shipley ending his college career. I believe Will Shipley's a senior, ending he's a sophomore. Sorry, he'll be back for Clemson. Ran over for 1,100 yards. So I think the future's bright with Clemson. They'll be college football playoff contenders again next season. But Tennessee definitely, like I said, came out motivated and definitely didn't let their foot off the gas from the get-go on Clemson. Moving forward to the next game that we had, the All-State Sugar Bowl. And like we said, man, Alabama just display. I think I texted you guys. It's like this is why the Big 12 can't hang with the SEC. 45-20, putting a stomping on Kansas State. This is a game in which Bryce Young, if he didn't solidify the number one slot in the NFL draft with this performance in the Sugar Bowl, I don't know what else to tell you. Bryce Young was 15-21, 321 yards, and 5 passing touchdowns. He was on a tear. Alabama definitely gave Will Howard all that they can handle. He was 18-35, 210, 2 interceptions. Deuce Vaughn, the 80-yard plus scamper for the touchdown, which kind of gave everybody some shots. Like, oh my God, Kansas State's gonna go crazy here. But they could not keep up with Alabama in this game. Thoughts, Christian?
Here's what I'll say about Kansas State. Will Howard, I think, gives them a better shot at winning games than Adrian Martinez because Will can throw the ball down the field. Like he gives them more of a traditional looking offense, whereas with Adrian, he's gonna run, and you as a defense, you're gonna sit on that line of scrimmage, and you're gonna dare him to throw the football. It looked like it was going to be interesting, but Bryce Young just showed why he's a far more superior quarterback. And this is the best game that Alabama put together all year long.
This definitely, Christian. That was what I was going to get to. This is definitely the best game that the Alabama Crimson Tide, and they, you know what? Honestly, Christian, I'm going to say this: they they made a statement with this game, 45-20. This is the team that beat TCU, right, to make it to the Big 12. And a lot of people were saying that Alabama should have got in over Ohio State and TCU, just because based on the talent situation. A lot of people thought that Alabama had much better talent on both sides of the ball than both teams.
Right.
And so I think this is a game that Nick Saban, he even came out after and said, I don't know why guys, like to sit out in bowl games. Our guys didn't sit out in this bowl game. They didn't think it was meaningless. We came out here. Everybody that started all season started in this game. Even Will Howard played. Will Anderson played in this game. So they came out and they made a statement in this game. Coming, right from the get go. So I gotta give it to Alabama Crimson Tide coming out here and putting the shellacking on Kansas State in this football game. Moving forward to the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. This is the game that me and Christian were talking about, or that you were just talking about. Tulane coming back from 14 or 17 down to beat USC 46-45. When I thought everything couldn't get better, it just got even better with this game, Christian.
It did, but Izzy, I've been talking about it all year long. USC's defense was going to get them in trouble, right? It got them in trouble. It got them in trouble against Utah in the Pac-12 title game, and it got them in trouble on Monday against Tulane. I didn't expect this. Look, Caleb Williams did what Caleb Williams was expected of him to do, but it was that defense that just couldn't hold up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, Caleb Williams, did all that he could do, 37-52. They even were up 6 points there, 462 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, and somehow, some way, Tulane was able to come back and win this football game. Mr. Tyjae Spears, I think we talked about him a few times this year, especially you, Christian. You previewed him. This guy's one of the best running backs in the nation. He had over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns in this game against USC. How much of a problem was he in this game for them?
I mean, look, 4 touchdowns, 200 yards. That right there should show you the problem he was. Runs inside, runs in between the tackles, gets those tough yards, and he wants the ball. Feed him the ball, move out the way, and let him handle the rest.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, they were up 15. USC was up 15 points with 4 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in this ball game, and they allowed Tulane to come back and win this ball game. Just a remarkable feat for Tulane. And Tulane had the biggest turnaround of any college football team in the nation. I think they won 2 games last year, and they only lost 2 games this year. They're ranked in the top 25, won the American, and won the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic over the University of Southern California Trojans. Let me ask you this question:
Let me hear it.
um does this game add another question mark to Lincoln Riley's career as not being the big game head coach?
Yeah, it definitely does. Has he even won a college football playoff game?
No,
Yeah,
he
no,
hasn't.
he hasn't. Look, I just think he's a great regular season coach, but when you need him to show out and show up when it matters most, he doesn't deliver. I mean, I thought his best shot at getting to a national championship was in 2017 when Baker Mayfield won Heisman and they were just out hustled by Georgia in crucial parts of the game. You know what you're going to get from him in a regular season. And I'll give him credit because he did make USC relevant once again. And this was his third Heisman Trophy winner, which is pretty impressive. You don't really hear that much with a lot of coaches saying, they coached one, but this is his third in about 5 or 6 years. I know Nick Saban's had a few under his belt with Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, Devontae Smith, Bryce Young, but um, yeah, this definitely taints Lincoln Riley's reputation.
This is Lincoln Riley right now in his bowl record is 1-4. That's what his bowl his career record, his winning percentage is 83%, 66-13. But in 5 bowl games, he is 1-4. He's got a 20% winning percentage here. And the last bowl game he's won, his last bowl game he won was in the Cotton Bowl when 2 years ago when he beat Florida 55-20. Before that, he lost in the Peach Bowl. I believe that 2019 that was the Jalen Hurts team where they got shellacked by LSU. Everybody got shellacked by LSU. He lost the Orange Bowl and he lost the Rose Bowl his first year in Oklahoma, and then first year in USC loses the Cotton Bowl. So yeah, 1-4 in those big bowl games. If you're gonna go to a big school, you got to win those big bowl games, Christian. You already know how it is. That can really taint your record. Lincoln Riley definitely has to win. He definitely next year. I don't think the seat's hot. Definitely USC. But I think for his career, I think he needs to make it to the college football playoff and win one and make it to the Natty because he's had nothing but talented teams over the last 5-6 years. Moving forward to the Rose Bowl game, we had number 11 Penn State. This is another Monday game. We had number 11 Penn State beating Utah 35-21. Here in the Rose Bowl, and this was a really shocking game to me because I thought that Utah was going to be able to withstand the physical triumphs of Penn State, but Penn State just came out and smacked them right in the face right from the get go. You know, they were physical in the trenches with them. They were physical at the line of scrimmage. They were on defense. They were real physical as well. With Utah, played their game. They used a lot of those tight ends. Sean Clifford had an excellent game, 16-21, 279 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And I want to say this that Nicholas Singleton, he is a freshman there at Penn State. I believe he's a true freshman. He is the next great Penn State running back. Eclipsing 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns on the season. In this game, he was a tear. He had 120 yards on 7 rushing attempts and 2 touchdowns. He is their big play threat. And, look for Nicholas Singleton to move forward. But, like I said, man, those tight ends, were, going to be big for Penn State in this game here. You got Keandre Lambert-Smith had a good game at wide receiver for them, 124 yards, 3 receptions. On the Utah side, this is a game in which Cam Rising got knocked out early, I believe in the first half of this game. He didn't return, so Bryson Barnes came in. And that kind of, hurt Utah a little bit here in this football game as Penn State was just outmatched them with the physicality in the Big Ten. This is the second back-to-back Rose Bowl loss for the University of Utah. So Kyle Whittingham just can't get over that hump in the Rose Bowl. for the Utes. But definitely, this is a game that Penn State controlled for a majority of this football game and controlled it at the line of scrimmage. They in their physicality and you know brought some things to the table that Utah wasn't ready for. And Sean Clifford definitely played a excellent game in this game. Um, to end his college football career as he bows out and he goes on to his next chapter. Um, whether that's in the pros or being a coach here. But Sean Clifford had a pretty good career there at Penn State and ends it with a Rose Bowl win for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Moving forward to our college football playoff. What a game! Both games were quite amazing. Starting with the Fiesta Bowl, TCU versus Michigan. I did not expect this to happen. I mean, Michigan, they literally killed themselves, shot themselves in the foot, time and time again against TCU. And it's kind of like a bad team to kind of play catch up with, right? TCU is a team that can continue to, put points on the board. Max Duggan. I mean, TCU was basically letting Michigan hang around. J.J. McCarthy, 343 yards, 20 and 34 passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Donovan Edwards, 119 yards, 23 carries. I think the biggest thing for me is that, they didn't get the touchdown. They didn't get the touchdown to end the half that, was called back. It was called on the 1 yard line because, they didn't get in the end zone. The rule where even if you're not touched, as an offensive player, you're down in college football. They were down at the 1, and then they lose the ball at the 1 yard line. First drive of the game, Michigan has a turnover on downs. Then the second time they get in the red zone, they lose the ball at the 1. And then, I think they couldn't get into the end zone 3 times in that first half as they were in the red zone against TCU. And they were just in the red zone like consistently all game long, but they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. And TCU, I would say the biggest play of the game was when Michigan got in the striking distance and Quentin Miller took that screen pass to the house. It was a miss. There was a missed tackle there, or Quentin Johnson took that 76-yard. He took a screenplay, 76-yard, and it was a beautiful screenplay too. As he came over, kind of like I want to say like on a kind of like an orbit screen in a way, like he had an orbit, kind of motion into the screenplay, and then he took it 76 yards to the house, like on a swing pass, and it was just all she wrote because Michigan brought the house.
Yeah. First, I got to give TCU a ton of credit, Izzy, because they were in control of this football game and they capitalized on every opportunity that presented themselves. But I knew momentum shifted in this game when Michigan tried to be cute on 4th and goal, going for that little reverse, just run the football. Or better yet, take the points. You and I were talking about that, and we both just kind of looked at each other and we were like, okay, what's really going on here? But I got to give TCU a lot of credit. They're balanced offensively. They did what they had to do defensively, but my biggest takeaway from TCU beating Michigan was they outperformed Michigan at their own game. They were more physical than them at the point of attack. Michigan could never recover. And remember what I said to you last week. Michigan was going to slow this game down. However, Michigan, they can get into a shootout when it's necessary. But yeah, TCU just controlled the tempo in their favor. They never looked back, and they were in the driver's seat pretty much throughout this game.
I don't, and you know what's crazy is that I don't remember a team that ran for 263 yards on Michigan.
Yeah, it's been a while.
263 yards, like that is uncharacteristic of this Michigan defense. I believe Michigan's defense doesn't even allow they like that is just insane. I don't even think they allow 263 yards. Average. They don't, like that's way above the average. I'd have to look at what their rushing average is, but yeah, I just think that, like you said, every opportunity that TCU had, they took, and they took advantage of. against the Michigan Wolverines. Now we can say that last play though to keep the game alive was targeting,
Absolutely.
on TCU.
You
It,
look,
it, yeah.
look. I just want to explain what targeting is. It's when you go crown to crown and you're
Hmm.
leading and you're aiming with your helmet, right?
Yes.
Look, that was targeting. What Bullard did in the Georgia Ohio State game, he led with his shoulder. And the college football has to get this right during the offseason because we have too many guys who are wearing suits who have never played a lick of football in their life trying to determine what's targeting and what's not. Because this is
No.
softening the game and it's hurting the game.
Hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Michigan should have had another opportunity to make another play downfield, as that was targeting. It's been very inconsistent this season. It almost in Michigan. And going back to the rushing defense, they're the top. They're number 7 rushing defense. They only allowed 97.9 yards per game. They allowed 200 and what 60? What I say 265, 263 rushing yards from
Mm-hmm.
TCU. That is like insane. So TCU definitely was able to, they brought the tenacity to Michigan. They brought that fire to Michigan. It was very entertaining game, back and forth. But I think moving forward, looking at Michigan, I think Jim Harbaugh is going to look at this game and he's definitely going to say, man, if we could have if we could have played a little bit better in the red zone, if we would have took the points, if we could have executed better in the red zone, we didn't fumble here, fumble there. That's football, right? It's a game of inches, and the other team, it's up to them to take advantage of your mistakes. And TCU did that at the right time. But congratulations, TCU, for getting into the college football playoff. First time in school history making to the college football playoff. First time making to the national title. And Sonny Dykes, what a hell of a turnaround that you did for this program after the dark cloud that Gary Patterson led TCU. Sonny Dykes has my vote for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, he has mine too.
The Coach of the Year. And he is. I think he was the Coach of the Year.
He did
Sonny
win
Dykes.
it.
He did win the Coach of the Year.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did
So
win it. What a performance! What a
yes.
performance on the biggest stage, and we've been following this TCU team pretty closely this year, Izzy. And when you counted them out, they found ways to deliver. That's what the great teams do.
That is definitely what the great teams do. And then moving forward to our last college football playoff game in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, another instant classic. If you didn't think that TCU Michigan wasn't an instant classic, well, let me tell you something. Ohio State and Georgia was an instant classic. 41-42, Georgia comes out victorious, but this game went down to the wire, Christian. Oh my goodness, it's all I have to say. CJ Stroud was on fire in this game. Georgia seemed like they just could not. They weren't able to be able to stop that passing attack of Ohio State in this football game. I thought that Georgia would be more physical with them in the trenches, but I did say that Ohio State has a top they have a top 10 they pass in pass protection. They are like top 10 in sacks allowed on the season. I think this is a game that I thought Georgia was going to give them fits with. CJ Stroud, 23 of 34, 348 yards, 4 touchdowns. Emeka Egbuka, over 112 yards in the touchdown. Marvin Harrison Jr., before he got knocked out the game, was having himself a hell of a game with 5 catches, 160 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It seems like Georgia could not stop them, even when they had Keely Ringo on them. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr., his route tree is phenomenal. Ohio State was able to pass the ball at will against Georgia. And then on the other side, Stetson Bennett had a pretty good game, 23 of 34, 398 yards, 3 touchdowns and interceptions. And when we say this, Stetson Bennett always, when his team needs him, he comes in, he delivers. He's the mailman. They call him the mailman now. Christian, what are your thoughts on this game?
Man, what a game this was. I was so honored to preview it. I look at Ohio State. They came out firing on all cylinders, and that's the most I think I've ever seen CJ Stroud move from a mobile standpoint.
Man.
Because he likes to throw that ball from the pocket. Ohio State couldn't get that running game going, but that was expected because Georgia's so stout against that run. But give Georgia a lot of credit because they turned on the championship pedigree when it was needed. And man, what a game. Like, I could go back and rewatch that one all over again. Ohio State was in control, but Georgia never panicked. And it seems like I've been the president of the Stetson Bennett fan club for the last year or so because anytime you need this kid to deliver, he's done it. May not be the
Mm-hmm.
flashiest guy, but whenever you need that big throw down the field, he does it. And he made countless big throws after countless big throws the other day against Ohio State. And he's one of the reasons why they're back in the national championship.
Yeah, no, definitely. And in the fourth quarter, going into the fourth quarter, Ohio State was up 14 points, 38-24. Just before that, I think was it in the early in the fourth quarter, or just before the fourth quarter, is when Marvin Harrison Jr. went down, and Ryan Day definitely did say at the press conference that that was big time for Georgia coming back in the fourth quarter. As now they can hone in on just the Mecca Ubuka instead of having to deal with two of those guys, right? And then obviously the Noah Ruggles 50-yard field goal, which wasn't even close to even hitting for Ohio State, giving them a chance there. So like Christian said, man, that championship pedigree stood out here as they scored 17 points in the fourth quarter to complete the comeback. 17, they outscored Ohio State 17-3 in the fourth quarter there.
Wow.
Yeah. No, and I mean the big play, I think that's one that made Georgia kind of feel like, okay, we got something here. That 76-yard pass from Stetson Bennett to Arian Smith, which was basically a breakdown in coverage there, that pretty much swung momentum, in my opinion, to Georgia's way. I know Ohio State got a field goal out of it, but it was like once Georgia, if they were the last team to get the ball back, they were going to win. They were one of the last teams to get the ball back. And I thought Ohio State actually was making that drive, Christian, but then they took that sack, which kind of put them back a couple more yards, right? And made it a harder field goal for Noah Ruggles.
Yep. But yeah, that's a tough loss for Ohio State. But if I'm the Buckeyes, I wouldn't hang my head down because you went toe for
No.
toe with the defending national champions and a team that's just been so much stronger than a lot of teams in the country, and they're gonna build off this. I will say this though, Izzy, I think that's a completely different game if Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't get knocked out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I absolutely 100% agree with you and Ryan Day. I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. plays in that fourth quarter. I think we're talking about Ohio State and TCU instead of Georgia and TCU because there was nothing that Georgia could do to stop that offense. To stop that offense with Marvin Harrison on the field, whether Marvin Harrison was catching the football or Marvin Harrison was taking 2 or 3 defenders with him, it was opening everything else up for Ohio State, and that passing game just lacked something when he went out. So, but I got to give it to Georgia for coming back. Like you said, championship pedigree. They are into the college football national championship for the second year in a row under Kirby Smart, as them and TCU are slated to play on Monday night. And that takes me to the next segment. And this is the big, juicy, fat steak as we are ending this show, starting to end this show. Monday, we have a national championship showdown here between Georgia, number 1 Georgia, and number 3 TCU, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, showcasing the number 1 team, Georgia, 8th in total offense, 494.9 yards per game, and 11th in total defense at 304.6 yards per game, the SEC champs. And then we have the TCU Horned Frogs, 13th in total offense at 474 yards, 0.1 yards per game, and 80th in total defenses. They are a team that likes to give up a lot of yards here at 395.3 yards per game, and they are the Big 12 runner-up, if everybody remembers, to Kansas State. Christian, how do you think this ends up going down? I already know what to expect here from Christian.
Shameless plug, baby.
The last one of the year. The last one of the year.
The
Come on.
last one, yeah, man. I'm really looking forward to this one. TCU, they're almost like a Cinderella story. I know this is a term that we use loosely in college basketball, but look, TCU, they weren't expected to do much. You remember, everybody had
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma over them, Baylor, Oklahoma State over them, and neither one of those teams really exceeded to the expectations that a lot of people had for them. But TCU, man, it just kept winning. They just kept winning. And I got to give Max Duggan a lot of credit because anytime this kid's number has been called, he's answered the call. It's just amazing that he didn't even start out as the starting quarterback for TCU this year. Remember, that was Chandler Morris. Chandler
Yes.
goes down, Max comes in, the rest is history. Um, I look at their offensive attack. They have a monster. It's led by Max Duggan, but I look at the weapons on the outside that really complement this passing game, and it starts with Quentin Johnston, 6'5" wide receiver, reminds me so much of Brandon Marshall. Can go over in traffic. I look at that crossing route he ran against Michigan that pretty much sealed the deal.
Man.
Oh my goodness, no guy that tall and that big should be moving that quickly. And look, I'll say this. If Georgia had a problem with Ohio State, what makes you think TCU isn't going to give that secondary a problem? Then I look at Georgia. Like I said, that championship pedigree. That championship pedigree turned on when they know they needed it most. Stetson Bennett leading the troops. Brock Bowers getting it going. Mitchell, that wide receiver. But you know who I'm watching? I'm going to even give you my X factors for this game. My X factor for TCU, I'm watching Dylan Horton. Now, 6'4", 275 defensive end with a background in playing safety. But when I look at Dylan, he was all over the field for TCU, and he's gonna have to have that same type of performance against Georgia on Monday night. 4 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and you got to get pressure on Stetson Bennett. And then when I look at Georgia, I'm watching Kenny McIntosh. He is Mr. Versatility for this Georgia offense. And what have I told you? NFL, college football, every offense has that Swiss Army knife, and that's what he is to this offense. He's that guy that Stetson Bennett can check the ball down to, gets the mismatch with a linebacker or a safety down the field, and he's almost like a safety valve for Stetson Bennett. Cannot wait to reveal this preview. It comes right after Monday Evening Quarterback on Monday night.
Yeah, no, I I definitely agree with you. I think if T well, I don't. I think that TCU does have weapons on the outside. I'll give you that. But are those? I'm going to say Quinn Johnson. Is he's the big guy, right? He's the big guy. 163 yards, a touchdown against Michigan last week. Tay Barber's another key threat. Michigan kept him to only two receptions on the day and a touchdown. Jordan Hudson is another guy that you got to worry about for Georgia. But when I look at their passing attack, I'm not as scared as I am, as I was against Ohio State, right? Because I'm going to tell you this right now. When it comes to sacks allowed, Georgia's ranked number 4, right? And that guy that you were talking about, right? The defensive end who had 4 sacks and that's Dylan Horton who had against Michigan. I don't think he's doing that against Georgia's offensive line. And then when I look at TCU has the 47th ranked team in terms of sacks allowed. So Georgia's definitely going to be after it. When you look at a team that had 263 yards against Michigan, they're going against the number 1, which I think is the number 1 ranked team because I think I believe, if I'm not mistaken, James Madison technically has the number 1 rushing defense in the nation at 79.5. Well, Georgia's right there, a 0.5 yard right behind them at 80. So I think running the football against Georgia's going to be hard. They're going to be physical in the trenches, physical from the outset against TCU. I don't think it's going to be close. I think that Max Duggan's gonna have it's gonna be frustrated all night long. I think you're going against a Georgia team. They have a top 10 offense in the nation, eighth in total offense. Stetson Bennett's a big game quarterback. They already been here, done that. This defense is seasoned to win another national championship. I think Keely Ringo is going to be key on Quentin Johnston when it comes to that matchup. So you guys want to watch out for that. But when I look at this game, I think Georgia's going to be too physical for them on the defensive side of the ball. TCU hasn't seen a defense like this all season long. You could say they won against Michigan. Michigan had some flaws. They kind of beat themselves. This is a team in Georgia that will not beat themselves. I think we've only seen it a couple of times where Georgia, almost kind of, had some uncharacteristic games. I could talk about the one against Missouri early on. I could talk about Ohio State in the last game. But I think against TCU, I think they'll be too physical for the Horned Frogs. And I'll actually give a score. I know they're plus 12 and a half, or they're a 12 and a half point favorite in this game. I'm actually going to go with with Georgia beating TCU 45 to 10 in this
Wow.
game.
Okay. Okay.
45 to 10. I think that Georgia's just going to run all over TCU. Stetson Bennett's going to have a field day against this team. I don't think TCU is going to be as physical as Georgia. I think Georgia's going to come out, first, 3 or 4 drives. They're going to score touchdowns in three out of 4 of those drives. They're going to go up big, 24-0, and TCU is just going to have a big time problem trying to come back and beat Georgia, and that's the physicality of his defense.
Man, I can't wait. It's all like I said. It's always a privilege to preview these national championships. Izzy, this is actually going to be my 12th national title game that I'm covering. I still remember the first one. I broke down Alabama LSU when LSU couldn't even cross the 50-yard line. But
So
yeah,
So let me ask you a couple questions here before we wrap up the preview here. What are some things? What are some keys for TCU in order for them to win this game against Georgia?
they have to start quickly. They got to come in, punch Georgia in the mouth. But like you said, I think that lack of a pass rush for TCU is concerning because if you don't hit Stetson Bennett behind that line, he's just going to nickel and dime you and pick you apart left and
Mm-hmm.
right. So it starts with getting the game in the tempo of your favor, controlling the clock, and I think beating Georgia with a quick passing game. Look, LSU threw for over 500 yards on Georgia. Ohio State, they had a field day throwing the ball on Georgia. So what makes you think TCU can't do it either? But when I look at the Georgia side, I'm concerned about their pass rush as well because can they get home and take pressure off that secondary because that secondary has been burnt toast the last couple of games. But I also think another major key for TCU, they have to, and I mean absolutely have to, you must contain Jalen Carter because if you don't, he will wreck your entire offensive game plan, Izzy.
No, I totally agree. And then what are some keys for Georgia in order for them to
Well,
beat
I think for
TCU?
Georgia, you got to get after Max Duggan for sure. Keep him in the pocket. Don't let him run because that's when he seems to be at his best, running the ball and really extending plays with his feet too. I'm doubling Quentin Johnston. Easier said than done, but don't play him in single man coverage. I'm keeping a safety high over the top, and I'm forcing him to earn everything underneath. I'm okay with Tay Barber and Darius Davis beating me
Mm-hmm.
in. George and for TCU, man, that defense, like I said, they have to get after Stetson Bennett. They cannot allow him to just sit behind that line of scrimmage and throw the football. Like you got to get him off his rhythm, and those are my keys for TCU.
Yeah, and funny that you say like both teams they're both ranked 71st or tied 71st with team sacks on the year as Georgia and TCU both averaged 2.14 sacks on the season 30 sacks in total for both teams, which is not good. So neither team gets after the quarterback. But when you talk about this Georgia defense, they are killers in stopping the run, physical in the trenches, especially in the interior defensive line. Jaron Carter and those boys. So should be a fun one. But I do believe that Georgia is it's going to be a fun one for Georgia only because I do think that it's going to be a route. I do think that TCU is going to be able to handle that physicality for Georgia. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that has been a wrap. You guys go ahead and make sure you check out the. When are you going to drop that article, Christian?
Before Monday, about an hour before kickoff.
5:30. Monday at 5:30. Make sure you guys check out that article, that national championship preview between Georgia and TCU on the Daily Blitz.blog, where you can catch Christian. And make sure you catch Christian every Tuesday on the Monday Evening Quarterback. And he is a contributor here at Prime Sports World. Make sure you guys take a chance to please like and share and subscribe to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch as we go live on all three channels. And if you missed us here on our live stream, make sure you check us out on our on Apple Podcasts, Samsung Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Amazon Music, where all major podcasts can be heard. Prime Sports World can be heard as well, ladies and gentlemen. And make sure you go ahead and join our NBA Supreme and NFL Supreme Facebook groups as well. But Christian, we have come down to one of the last shows of the college football season. I know we got a college football review after the national championship game, so you guys probably don't want to miss that. But we'll come back with another edition of College Football Showdown, so you guys don't want to miss out for that content as well. But it's been a pleasure this season, Christian.
Man,
as always.
Nah, brother. Thank you for there's no other guy I'd rather be talking this game with other than you. You know, you made me better as a professional, and man, it's many more. This isn't the end. There's many more years of this to come. Prime Sports World, the network, you guys bringing me on. It's the highlight of my season, and man, I just hope I've done it the right way. And just, man, thank you to everybody who tunes in to the show, man. We truly appreciate that. I say that on behalf of me and Mr. Israel Rivera. Be safe this weekend, first weekend of 2023. I hope the year, the start of the new year has been good to you and your family. Be safe this week. If you're going to be out, as Izzy says, and if you're drinking, call an Uber, call a Lyft. Be safe. Bet on the games. Watch all the games. And most importantly, Izzy, I'd be crazy if I didn't end the show by this. Man, huge shout out to Damar Hamlin. Huge shout out to Damar Hamlin. This kid is really fighting, and he has an entire nation behind him right now.
Yeah, no, and definitely, I was gonna say prayers out, College Football Showdown. Once to give our prayers out. I was on the Fantasy Football Weekly show. Went solo on that one and gave out my sincere prayers out to Damar Hamlin. He showed significant improvement. He's a former Pittsburgh Panther. Before he moved on to the Buffalo Bills in the National Football League. But everybody wants to at College Football Showdown, me, Christian, and with Matt James on, we want to give our sincere prayers out to him and hope for a speedy recovery. But definitely, I have liked the improvements and the updates that we've been hearing about Damar Hamlin. So speedy recovery and Godspeed with you, Damar. But anyways, that has been a show. It's been a wrap. You guys look forward to the weekend, and we'll probably be back here on Monday, if I'm not mistaken, for our NFL preview review show coming up for week 18. So you guys don't want to miss that at all. I've been Israel Rivera. That's Christian Simpson, my main man. Matt James has been out, but this has been a pleasure, Christian. And like I always say, if I don't miss you, man, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening, and good night here at Prime Sports World again for College Football Showdown. Everybody, take care and sayonara, suckers.
Absolutely, man.